Yes, I didn't see him. What are you looking so sad about, Jeff?
I'm surprised at you. I mean, I'm really insulted. I mean, that's not right what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting on, but you talking. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clay, one time during my career, I bummed a bum of one tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
Well, you know,
What's happening, my people? It's Cat Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Box Historian, bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to Miss Cass. Without her, none of this would be possible. Salute to everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cat Sports, the Box Historian. Today, Boxing Controversies. Boxing Controversies. How's the family today? It's Wednesday. This is the Hump Day edition of Cat Sports, the Box Historian. Today's show is brought to you by Al Booger. Member of the Cat Sports Boxing family. We wanted to see talk about hand wrap controversies, and we're going to put some other, I found a few, put some other controversies in there to it. Boxing controversies today. Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the schedule. We got some pretty good action coming up this weekend. I'm looking at that Honor Barboza card deeply. That's a pretty good card. Mm-hmm. Good matchmaking on that card. Let's talk about it briefly. Yeah. Honor Barboza and Kenneth Sims in the main event. That's a good matchup. Kenneth Sims coming off that loss to Duarte. I don't know if he's fought since then. It's from Anaheim, California. This card is. And then Gabriela Fedora on the card defending her undisputed title. I like to see Gabriela fight. She's a killer. She always got the height and reach advantage, but she likes to get up in that pocket like her brother and rumble. But she's also shown she got the skills to fight, use those advantages and fight at range too. But she likes to rumble. Undisputed Gabriela. And JoJo on the card against Alexis Rocha. That could be a good fight right there. JoJo and Alexis Rocha could be the fight of the night on that card. Then you got the Oscar, 2 title fights on the card. Oscar Collazo defending his title. His WBO strawweight title, 105 against Jesus Harrow. This is Saturday. And got the promising youngster, Joe Iriarte. It's one of my top prospects. Joel is in action. Joel is welterweight. It's like he's 9-0 with 7 knockouts. Yeah, Joel is when I did my prospect show about a month ago, Joel was one of the ones I highlighted. So he's in action this weekend. Mike Rim in the building and Al Booger. Today's show is brought to you by Al Booger. You want to see some hand wrap controversies? I got a few. And then we're going to talk about some other controversies too. We got like 3 hand wrap controversies, and then we're going to talk about some of the most unprofessional boxers in boxing history. One of the most unprofessional boxers in boxing history. And we're going to highlight some of the usual controversial fights and go over them again. And yeah. And we got I'm going to go in deep on the hand wrap thing between Louis Resto and Billy Collins Jr. Yeah, that was a big one. I stumbled onto a nice article about that. I had something else planned to talk about them, and then I was doing my pictures and ran into a nice article on Louis Resto and Billy Collins. When Louis Resto and Panama Louis had plaster of Paris, they took some of the stuff out of the gloves, and Billy Collins eventually had an accident and died. They don't know, they suspect it might have been suicide. So yeah, it's a good big one. But brought to you today by Al Booger from the Cass Sports family. Salute Al Booger, Mike Rim, Miss Cass in the building so far. Okay. But yeah, that's a nice card this weekend. Yeah, I got my eyes on Joe Iriarte. I think he's 9-0 with 7 knockouts. I like to watch Gabriela fight. She's on there this weekend, defending her undisputed Alexis Rocha and JoJo. That could be the fight of the night on that card. JoJo proved against Regis he lost, but proved he's still dangerous. Had Regis hurt a couple of times. So yeah, I like that matchmaking, Alexis Rocha and JoJo Diaz. So that's this Saturday. Nice card to look forward to this weekend. We don't have no big names, the Tanks and the Devin Shakurs, none of Vidaz's, none of them not on there, but that is a good solid card. Saturday, March 14th. Okay, got some other good stuff coming up. Alicia coming up in a few weeks, Baumgartner. And Tyson Fury is fighting the big Russian, Akhmadaliev. Tyson will outbox him. If you got any power, Akhmadaliev is doesn't take body punches too good. Y'all made him take 2 knees, and then the last knee he just gave. He said no Mars. Big, powerful Russian. He was fighting Carvalho and coming out there snapping his neck on his ring walk, and I said, oh my good, he gonna kill Carvalho. Carvalho made that chump quit, take a knee on a body shot. But okay, let's get into our fighters of the day now so we can get this thing started. Boxing controversies today. Okay, but we got to have our fighters of the day. So let's get ready to get into that. But how's everybody? This is the Hump Day edition. On the way downhill to this weekend, that nice card too. But without further ado, today's fight of the day. Okay, today's fight of the day is Larry Holmes versus Muhammad Ali. Okay, and this fight took place on October 2nd, 1980. A low light of boxing history. Okay, a low light of boxing history. Let's talk about it. Mike Mazik in the building. Salute Mike Mazik. Happy Wednesday. Getting on down to that good card this weekend. You came right at the beginning of the fight of the day, Mike. Larry Holmes, Muhammad Ali, October 2nd, 1980, a low light of boxing history. The Larry Holmes versus Muhammad Ali fight was contested at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada. It was billed as the last hurrah. It pitted undefeated champion Larry Holmes against former champion Muhammad Ali, who sought to claim the title for a fourth time after a brief retirement. Holmes, entering with a perfect 35-0 record, including 26 knockouts, and having previously served as one of Ali's sparring partners, weighed 211 pounds and utilized his signature jab to control the distance throughout the scheduled 15-round fight. Ali, aged 38, with a 56-3 ledger and weighing 218 pounds, exhibited markedly reduced mobility and punching power, attributable to damage from prior fights and possible thyroid medication effects. From the opening bell, Holmes dominated every round, outlanding Ali significantly per CompuBox metrics and targeting the body to sap the challenger's limited reserves, leading all three judges to score 100 to 89 or 190 through 9 completed rounds. In round 10, after relentless pressure under referee Richard Green, Ali's corner withdrew him on the stool, awarding Holmes a retirement technical knockout, RTD, victory, and marking Ali's final professional defeat before another comeback attempt. They came back after that. The event drew 24,790 attendees, set a $6 million live gate record at the time, and featured purses of $8 million for Ali and $6 million for Holmes, underscoring its commercial draw despite the mismatch that exposed Ali's physical decline and shifted focus to Holmes as the division's premier fighter. Yeah, that's when Holmes really said, "I'm the man now." He's already the man, but that officially did it. Okay, Ali was done after that. The Larry Holmes began his pro boxing career on March 21st, 1973, defeating Rodell Mayfield by knockout in the 4th round in Scranton, Pennsylvania. Over the next 5 years, he compiled an undefeated record of 28 wins, including 19 knockouts, often competing on undercards of major events and facing journeyman opponents to hone his skills. His fighting style characterized by a long Ali emerged during this period. Holmes had served as Ali's sparring partner from 1972 to 1976, absorbing punishment while studying the champion's techniques during preparations for fights against Jerry Quarry and others. Holmes' breakthrough came through increasingly competitive fights against ranked heavyweights, such as his third-round knockout of former contender Charlie Polite in 1974, and a points victory over spoiler Willie Joyner in 1976, which elevated his standing in the division. By 1978, with the heavyweights landscape fractured after Ali's loss to Leon Spinks, World Boxing Council recognized Holmes as the top contender for his vacant title, pitting him against reigning WBC champion Ken Norton. On June 9, 1978, at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, Holmes challenged Norton in a grueling 15-round war, marked by intense exchanges and mutual respect between the fighters. Holmes overcame Norton's early aggression and bodywork, dominating the middle round with his jab and combination, with force occurring a narrow split decision victory. The judges scored 143-142 twice for Holmes and 143-142 for Norton. This triumph, watched by over 7,000 spectators and broadcast on ABC, established Holmes as the WBC heavyweight champion at age 28, his first title, launching his 7-year reign and solidifying his prominence in a division dominated by Ali's legacy. Following his unanimous decision victory over Leon Spinks on September 15, 1978, to reclaim the undisputed heavyweight title, Muhammad Ali announced his retirement from professional boxing, becoming the first Black American athlete to retire as world champion in a major sport. However, this retirement was formalized on June 26, 1979, at age 37, amid accumulating evidence of physical decline that had manifested in his later career fights. Signs of deterioration included slowed reflexes and reduced hand speed, evident after his 1975 thriller in Manila against Joe Frazier, exacerbated by a grueling 1976 training regimen involving 40-mile runs and extreme dehydration tactics that strained his body long term. By the late 1970s, observers noted early neurological symptoms such as fatigue, hypophonia, which means soft voice, slowness of movement, and a masked facial expression, later attributed to the onset of idiopathic Parkinson's disease, though undiagnosed until 1984. These impairments, combined with age-related wear from over 50 pro fights and repeated head trauma, rendered Ali a diminished fighter by 1978, as seen in his initial upset loss to the lightly experienced Leon Spinks earlier in the year. Ali's 21-month retirement ended with the decision to challenge WBC heavyweight champion Larry Holmes on October 2nd, 1980, primarily driven by financial pressure from a lavish lifestyle that outpaced his earnings, despite career accumulations exceeding $50 million. Accustomed to multi-million-dollar purses, private jets, and extensive philanthropy, Ali faced mounting bills and investment shortfalls, making this $8 million guaranteed payout for the Holmes fight a compelling incentive despite his age of 38 and evident health decline. The $8 million was too much to turn down. from Don King. So while Ali publicly framed the comeback as a quest to become the first four-time heavyweight lineal champion and prove his enduring greatness, contemporaries like trainer Angelo Dundee and physician Freddie Pacheco later emphasized the economic necessity overrode realistic assessments of his capabilities, with Pacheco having urged retirement as early as 1977 due to observed neurological red flags. Ali's preparation involved secretive training in the Bahamas under Drew Bandini Brown, focusing on weight loss from 236 pounds to 212 pounds, but relied on thyroid medication, thyrosin, to accelerate fat reduction, which further weakened muscle strength and stamina, underscoring a causal link between desperation for funds and inadequate physiological readiness. Okay, now let's get to the fight. Holmes Ali, 1980. Let's get to that was the real low light of boxing history right there too. Holmes just dominated. Okay, the fight itself. The fight commenced on October 2nd, 1980 at Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, Nevada, with Larry Holmes, the reigning WBC heavyweight champion at 35-0, employing an aggressive, jab-centric strategy honed from his sparring experience with Ali himself years earlier. Holmes aimed to maintain distance and pressure using his 81-inch reach advantage, landing quick left jabs to the face and body while following with rights to the head and hooks to disrupt Ali's rhythm from the outset. In contrast, the 38-year-old Ali, returning from a 2-year retirement, planned to capture the early rounds through stick and move tactics to build momentum and influence the crowd and judges, leveraging his experience against taller opponents. However, Ali's pre-fight strategy faltered immediately due to diminished hand speed and power, shifting him toward a defensive posture with high guards and retreats to the rope throughout the fight. In the opening round, Holmes advanced rapidly, connecting with a series of jabs, a left hook to Ali's temple and a right to the head, while Ali responded with a single solid right hand over Holmes' jab at the 2-minute mark, but otherwise remained defensive, his left eye reddening from accumulated strikes. Holmes dictated the pace, ignoring Ali's verbal taunts and focusing on body work to sap his opponent's energy in the 89-degree heat of the arena. By the second round, Ali's offense waned, landing no significant punches as Holmes' steady jabs pinned him in the corner, compelling Ali to cover up tightly and absorb punishment without effective counters. Commentator Howard Cosell noted post-round 3 that Holmes had clearly won the initial exchanges, with Ali managing only sporadic, evaded rights and hooks while spending extended time on the rope. Holmes' trainer, Eddie Futch, adjusted tactics mid-early fight by instructing Holmes to maneuver Ali away from the ropes toward the ring center, preventing leverage from the cables that Ali had famously used in prior fights, like the rope-a-dope against Foreman. Ali's peekaboo defense proved ineffective against Holmes' ripping jab, which targeted vulnerabilities exposed by Ali's slower reflexes, resulting in a lumpy bruise under Ali's left eye in the round 3. This setup established Holmes' control as Ali's attempts at lateral movement yielded minimal output, setting a pattern of one-sided dominance that exhausted the challenger early in the fight. In rounds 4 through 6, Holmes asserted increasing control through relentless left jabs that are consistently connected, forcing Ali into defensive postures along the ropes, while conserving his own energy with measured single shots. Ali, employing a rope-a-dope strategy reminiscent of his past triumphs, absorbed the punishment but managed only sporadic counters, including a single right hand in round 4 that drew blood from his left nostril. However, Holmes' precision dissected Ali's guard, momentarily stunning him in round 5 and beating him to the punch in round 6, despite Ali's attempts at jabs. A pivotal moment emerged in round 4 when Holmes landed a vicious right hook to Ali's kidneys near the end of the round, causing Ali's knees to buckle and nearly dropping him, signaling the challenger's vulnerability to bodywork amid his semi-dazed state in subsequent exchanges. By rounds 5 and 6, Holmes shifted to bursts of lefts and rights, targeting the body, exploiting Ali's fading mobility as the former champion blinked and stared blankly under pressure. In round 7, Ali mounted a brief resurgence by dancing and unleashing 18 jabs, most of which missed, before nearly collapsing from exhaustion, underscoring Holmes' sustained offensive rhythm that prevented effective clinches or recovery. Holmes' mid-fight superiority peaked in round 8, where he maintained distance to deliver 4 consecutive hard right hands to Ali's head midway through the round, Ali landing fewer than 10 meaningful punches from Ali overall up to that point, and appearing physically fresh while Ali offered no substantive offense. This phase highlighted Holmes' strategic jab as a weapon that wore down Ali's defenses without overexertion, transitioning the fight from tactical setup to outright punishment as Ali's trainer, Angelo Dundee, started issuing stoppage warnings to Ali. No momentum shifted back to Ali, with Holmes' control bolstered by a 6-inch reach advantage, ensuring the ex-champion's pride alone prolonged the inevitable. Yeah, Ali was just still on his feet and in the fight by pride alone by that point. As the fight entered its later stages, Holmes continued to assert dominance in the 8th round, maintaining distance while landing hard right hands to Ali's head and cornering him repeatedly against the ropes. Midway through the round, after trapping Ali with 4 consecutive right hands, Holmes appeared visibly reluctant to escalate the punishment further, though he pressed on with measured aggression. Yeah, by that time, Holmes didn't even want to hit Ali anymore. He actually asked the referee to stop it, but the referee told him to continue. In the 9th round, Holmes unleashed a vicious right uppercut that draped Ali over the ropes, followed by a painful right hook to the kidney that caused Ali to wobble and crouch in evident distress. Ali's trainer, Angelo Dundee, inquired during the round break whether Ali wished to continue, highlighting the mounting toll on the former champion who absorbed the blows without retaliating effectively or suffering a knockdown. Pride alone was keeping him up. The 10th and final round saw Holmes deliver a relentless barrage, including 4 jabs, a right cross, a hook to the body, a kidney shot, and rapid 3-punch combinations that left Ali standing but utterly defenseless and unable to mount any offense. Heavy combinations to Ali's body and head further sapped his resistance, with Holmes battering his opponent without eliciting a stagger or fall. And the referee should have been stopped by that point long ago, but he wouldn't. It was Muhammad Ali. Ali had never been stopped coming into the fight. Following the round, as Ali sat on the stool, Angelo Dundee instructed referee Richard Green to halt the fight, deeming Ali incapable of proceeding. And then Green later noted he would have intervened himself had Dundee not. He needs to shut up. The referee, after Dundee stopped it, I was getting ready to stop it. Man, you should have stopped this fight like 4 or 5 rounds ago. When Angelo Dundee stopped it, the referee going to say after the fight, I was getting ready to stop it. Man, STFU. You should have stopped it rounds ago. He was intimidated by Ali. Ali had never been stopped, so the referee was intimidated not to stop it. If Angelo Dundee hadn't stopped it, the referee would have let Ali take that punishment for 15 rounds. Yes, he would have. Should have been stopped about round 5. And this was 10. The official result was a technical knockout in the 11th round under WBC rules, as Ali failed to answer the bell, marking the first stoppage loss of his career on October 2nd, 1980 at Caesars Palace, Las Vegas, Nevada. There you have it, the fight of the day. Larry Holmes stops Muhammad Ali. First stoppage of the greatest of his career. Shouldn't even have been in there. Already suffering from Parkinson's disease at that point. His speech was slowing. His motor functions was affected, like walking in a little shuffle. Taking a minute to respond to somebody talking to him. Yeah, Ali shouldn't even have been fighting by then. But he got $8 million, so you take me in there in a wheelchair, you give me $8 million. I'm fighting. So yeah. Then he fought one more time against Trevor Berbick. He got beat up by Trevor Berbick. A man in his prime, Ali would have made look silly. 1960s, early 70s Ali would have made Trevor Berbick look silly. But the Ali that fought Trevor Berbick got beat up again. And then he finally gave it up after that. But if he hadn't have been in there for those 2 beatings, Holmes and Berbick, maybe the Parkinson's wouldn't have got as bad as it actually got. If he would have got out of there when he should have. Okay, but let's get into the show now. Boxing Controversies, brought to you by Al Booker today. That's Louis Resto and Billy Collins. That was him on the thumbnail too. Billy Collins on the left, Louis Resto on the right. This is a little piece called Assault in the Ring. They made a documentary about it. We're going to look at that first before we look at the fight. It's called Assault in the Ring. Okay. The documentary they made about the fight. It's pretty good. I've seen it. Yeah, it came out like 2008. It's on YouTube like everything else is. Assault in the Ring. Yeah. Put that in, it'll come up. Okay, and we're gonna cover this first, and then we're gonna take a look at the fight after we'll get Assault in the Ring. Very interesting. Okay, yeah. Assault in the Ring. Assault in the Ring is a 2008 American sports documentary film that examines one of the most infamous scandals in boxing history. The June 16, 1983 welterweight fight between journeyman boxer Louis Resto and undefeated prospect Billy Collins Jr. at Madison Square Garden in New York City. The film details how Resto's trainer, Carlos Panama Lewis, tampered with Resto's gloves by removing the padding and using plaster of Paris in the hand wraps, enabling Resto to deliver punches with excessive force that caused severe permanent damage to Collins' eyes, effectively ending his promising career. The undercard fight to the Roberto Duran-Davey Moore lightweight title fight was initially scored as a unanimous decision victory for Resto, but was later ruled a no contest following investigation. Yeah, it was on the undercard of Roberto Duran-Davey Moore. That was Roberto's first title after the No Mas debacle, when Roberto started on his comeback trail. Yeah, this fight was on that card. Excuse me. Directed, produced, and written by Eric Draft in association with HBO Sports and Live Star Entertainment. The documentary premiered on HBO on August 1st, 2009, and runs for approximately 82 minutes. Yeah, it's not all that long. It's like a little over an hour and 20 minutes, something like that. Very good documentary. It won the 2010 Sports Emmy Award for Outstanding Sports Documentary, beating nominees including ESPN's The Legend of Jimmy the Greek and HBO's The Williams. That was about the tennis player, Williams sisters. This film beat both of them for the sports documentary of the year, 2010. Originally titled Cornered, A Life Caught in the Ring, the film combines archival footage, interviews with key figures, and contemporary scenes to explore the long-term repercussions of the cheating scandal. The aftermath of the fight was devastating. Collins, then 22 years old, suffered vision loss that barred him from further competition, leading to depression, alcoholism, and his death on March 6, 1984, in a single car accident near his home in Antioch, Tennessee, while under the influence of alcohol. Yeah, and it's believed that it could have been a suicide, right? They ruled it an accident, but they said it could have been a suicide. BBO Sports TV, great show, BBO, last night. I was out and about, I couldn't comment, but I saw it. Great show. The legendary BBO Sports TV. Salute. In the building. Yeah. Controversies today, BBO. Hand wraps and some other controversies. This is the Louis Resto Billy Collins fight. Louis Resto had that slime sleazeball, crudball, Panama Lewis as his trainer. Panama was a real piece of work. Okay. Now, Resto and Lewis faced criminal charges in 1986 and were convicted of second-degree assault, conspiracy, and criminal possession of a weapon. Resto served about 2.5 years in prison, while Lewis received a 2 to 6 year sentence. I think Lewis served about a year. Both were given lifetime bans by the New York State Athletic Commission. Resto sought to have his ban lifted in 2011 to allow him to train boxers, but was rightfully denied. Okay, you can never have nothing else to do with boxing. He wanted to come back and train, but after that, he shouldn't be involved in boxing in any capacity. And he applied to come back almost 20 years after he did this nonsense in 2011, but he was denied. And Panama Lewis died on September 19, 2020. And wasn't too many mourners. It's like good riddance, Panama. Central to Assault in the Ring is Resto's quest for redemption. 2 decades later, as he seeks forgiveness from Collins' widow, Donna, and their daughter, Ashley, amid ongoing debates about the knowledge of and complicity in the tampering. And they didn't forgive him, for the severity of their loss. I mean, she lost her husband and the child lost their father because of this guy asking for forgiveness. They was like, no, you don't get no forgiveness here, okay? Ain't no forgiveness for that. What he did to this man. Boxing is dangerous enough with just the gloves, without putting plaster of Paris and taking some of the stuffing out of the gloves. So no, his wife, Billy Collins' wife, and his daughter was like, hell no, we ain't forgiving you. Get out of here, right? So no, forgiveness was not given. The documentary highlights themes of guilt, betrayal, and the human cost of corruption in sports, featuring emotional confrontation and revelation. It underscored how the incident prompted stricter regulations on glove inspections and corner conduct in professional boxing. Okay, so now let's look at the fight. Let's look at another piece about this. That was just about the documentary they made about it. Pretty good, called Assault in the Ring. I've seen it. Well, yeah, get a chance, take a look at that. It's on YouTube, like everything's on YouTube. Just Assault in the Ring. Okay, so now we're gonna take a look at the fight and some more thoughts about Louis Resto and Billy Collins. Just Billy Collins on the left and the cheetah, Louis Resto on the right. He was a light punching journeyman, but all of a sudden he's beating this guy up, marking his face all up and everything. And it was just, well, where this guy get all his power from all of a sudden, And Billy Collins' father was the trainer, and he knew something was up, right? Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about it. Okay, here we go. Yeah, I ran across this accident. I was making my pictures. I had something else prepared, but then ran across this article. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's get into it. How's everybody? It's the hump day afternoon. We got the legendary BBO Sports TV. We got Mike Mazik, Al Booger, and Mike Rim, and Miss Cass. All right, okay. This is the fight that ended Billy Collins' career. In the world of sports, some stories never escape the spotlight. For some reason, often tied to the magnitude of the tragedy, they keep coming back. Of these stories, the Billy Collins, Louis Resto fight is one of them. And the events of June 16, 1983 find their way back onto the headlines. Excuse me. Louis Resto grew up in Juncos, Puerto Rico, where he had lived with his single mother. At 9 years old, he migrated to New York's northernmost borough. He remembers how much he cried, not wanting to leave his stepfather and home in Puerto Rico. But when he arrived in the city, the tall buildings and the pizza amazed him so much that he ate pizza every day until he couldn't take it anymore. For what it's worth, Resto had quite a troubled childhood, humble yet volatile. The streets of New York's northernmost borough were chaotic. People often chased Resto around for causing trouble, just like they did most other kids. At some point during 8th grade, he elbowed his math teacher in the face and spent 6 months in a mental health rehabilitation center. It wasn't long until he built a fierce reputation inside the local police athletic boxing club. Soon enough, he was an amateur, a very successful one, with numerous Golden Gloves accolades attached to his growing profile. Resto dreamed of the Montreal Olympics. As he mentioned in 2019 in a 2019 documentary, all I wanted to do was become a champion. But everything Louis Resto has done is secondary and always will be to the role he played years back. Mention his name and no one thinks of his Golden Gloves win or his winning record. Everyone remembers him for what happened in Madison Square Garden on June 16, 1983. That's what Louis Resto is known for. Now, a promising beginning. That's Billy Collins right there. Long before Billy Collins Jr. had the boxing world at his feet, and way before the murderous fight against Louis Resto, he was just a pale, red-haired kid from Tennessee. The second of 4 children to Billy Collins Sr. and Betty Collins. Both father and son were named Billy Ray, but the family called the father Billy and the son Ray. Yeah, and Billy Sr., his father was a boxer too. Even as a child, Billy Ray Collins carried an unshakable certainty of what he wanted to become, a boxer, because his father was a boxer, okay? It was a fixation so consuming that it felt less like a choice and more like a calling. The sport found him not long before his 13th birthday. And it took only a moment for him to know it was what he wanted to do. From that point on, Billy Collins gave himself to it completely, setting out every other path. As his father described it, one year after Billy Collins drove his 1972 Chevrolet into the headlights in 1984, my son was trying to get me out of this. He'd tell us, Mom and Dad, I'm going to buy you a house, and all we had to do is lay back. He wanted to be somebody. The lore behind his obsession. Although Ray could have easily followed a more conventional path, living a normal life, his path into boxing was anything but far-fetched. The lore of that ambition was largely shaped by the shadow of his father's career in the boxing ring. Billy Collins Sr. had been a pretty good boxer in his day as well. And it was a crucible where familial legacy met personal ambition. Though modest by world championship standards, Billy Collins Sr.'s career embodied the tutelage of budding 13-year-old Ray needed. By the time Billy Ray Collins turned 19, his transition to the pro circuit did not come as a surprise, particularly to those who had watched him train at the gym with an ex-professional. Turning pro at that age is not a common milestone for fighters. In his first 14 pro fights, Ray compiled an unbeaten streak, 10 by knockout, including a stunning victory against future world champion Bruce Curry. Okay, had to win over Bruce Curry, Donald Curry's brother. Earning the breaks from the very beginning of such a meteoric career was bound to propel him toward the bright lights of Madison Square Garden, where titans who now dominate boxing history once stood, such as Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, Sugar Ray Robinson, and Roberto Duran. Slowly, The life Billy Ray Collins Jr. dreamt about with his father was already taking shape. And then came the fight against Louis Resto. Cheating Louis Resto. It is said that the darkest path of the night is just before dawn. Perhaps that could also mean that the brightest days occurred before the darkest night. No one ever thought the fight between Billy Collins Jr. and Louis Resto to be a fair contest. Resto was on the precipice. Collins was on the precipice of becoming the next big thing, boxing's poster boy with a 14-game unbeaten streak. On the other hand, Resto was a light puncher who had gone from hot prospect to boxing afterthought after a loss to Bruce Curry, who Collins had a win over. And not to mention, Resto's excessive partying coalesced with Resto facing higher level opposition in places like Venezuela and Norway. And this nightmare combination saw him fall from 4-0 to 7-4-1 within 2 years. You never threw Resto in. He didn't come along slowly like Collins did. They just threw him in there with big names from the jump. Now, while handlers polished the young redhead Irish American from Tennessee for glory, Resto dwelt on the undercard, earning small purses to quench expensive thirst. He needed a fresh start, but a fresh start would soon turn into a foul conspiracy. Now, many expected Collins to win that fight, but for some inexplicable reason, could pull off an upset. Over 20,000 spectators gathered in the Garden on the night of June 16, 1983. It was the biggest boxing crowd in over a decade. Before Billy Collins stepped into the squared circle for what would go on to become his last boxing legend, Muhammad Ali made a surprise appearance. To the roar of the fans, Muhammad Ali was in the house that night when this happened. Though favored, Collins took a 10-round battering from a man transformed. By the final bell, the 21-year-old looked nothing like the turd-faced fighter who had entered the ring 45 minutes earlier. His eyes puffed and shut. A gross swelling distorted his forehead. To make matters worse, the 21-year-old suffered his first loss as a pro. Resto disfigured his face. I got a picture of it in a little while. And it was his first loss. Now, the turnout was not what most people anticipated. A classic scenario of an underdog finding a second win. So most people thought. After the fight, as Resto hit it over to Collins, giving him the Judas kiss, it was as if preordained that this victory would be short-lived and that Resto's celebration wouldn't last long. The shocking discovery, okay? So as Resto lingered near Billy Collins' manager and father, Billy Collins Sr., Sr. shook Resto's gloved hand to congratulate him. But what he found was a glove without padding. He grabbed Resto's left palm and he wouldn't let go. So the father went to shake his hand and was like, hey, something ain't right here, right? These gloves, he shouted, calling for the inspectors. Resto, who obviously sensed the danger from the older man's motions, signaled to his corner to come. Ain't nothing they can do for you. You caught, you busted. There's a shot at Resto. Panama Lewis, Resto's trainer, drew himself into a fit of defensive rage. Those were the gloves they gave us, he said. Those were the gloves they gave us. He kept yelling. The gloves, so Billy Collins Sr., after he shook his hand, he called from some of the officials at ringside to come in the ring and look at these gloves. So then, the gloves were impounded by the New York State Athletic Commission and sent to the New York State Police Laboratory at Newburgh, where it was determined that half of the 2-ounce horsehair padding in each 8-ounce glove had been removed through holes cut in the inner lining. The commission, after a hearing that produced no witnesses who saw the gloves tampered with, permanently revoked the licenses of both the two men in charge of Resto's corner, Carlos Panama Lewis and Pedro Alvarado. Revoked their licenses to train or manage fighters. His eyes puffed and shut. A gross swelling distorted his forehead. To make matters worse, the 21-year-old Collins suffered his first loss as a pro. Okay, excuse me for a minute. Yeah, Collins suffered his first loss as a pro. Okay? Okay, bear with me, please. Yeah. Okay. Okay, let's continue. Yeah, that was his first loss as a pro. And at first they thought Resto had pulled off this big upset. Come on, man. Jesus. Okay, we'll be back into it in one moment. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. Suffered his first loss as a pro. In addition, Resto's boxing license was suspended for a minimum of 1 year, and the fight was declared a no contest. Because Resto's gloves contained almost no padding, each blow that struck Collins' face was magnified. The young fighter, between rounds, had complained to his father, "It feels like he has a rock in his gloves." So when his father went to shake Resto's hands, he did that for a purpose, because he knew something wasn't right. This guy was this light punching fighter, and he was just destroying his son, marking his face up, talking about his son said it felt like it was rocking his gloves. And when he shook his hand, he knew right away that something wasn't right. Now, it wasn't a rock. It was the cold, hard reality of a conspiracy that would eventually cost Billy Collins Jr. his career and eventually his life. Yep. There's the damage he did to him. Yeah. That's him and his father. Look at that, man. Look at that. And the padding taken out of his gloves and plaster Paris, which as your hands, the fight goes on and your hands get moist in the glove, plaster Paris hardens as it gets wet. The damage to Billy Ray Collins was permanent. A jagged cut under his right eye never truly healed. It seeped pus until the day he died. The trauma had also torn his iris, leaving him blind in one eye. And when the doctor delivered the ultimatum that he must never fight again, the world, as Billy Ray Collins Jr. knew it, collapsed. Just like that, a once promising star was extinguished. Billy Collins Jr. fell apart, as his father described it. The transition from being somebody shattered his young psyche. For the first time in his life, Billy Collins Jr. took to drinking. He had to take his first job outside of boxing, painting, but it lasted less than 2 months because his employer could not risk putting a vision impaired worker on scaffolding. With no job and the weight of being a provider who could no longer provide for his family pushed him to the edge. He had a wife and a young daughter. In a heated argument, Billy Collins did what he had never done before. He struck his 18-year-old wife, Andrea. It was the final straw in a life already in pieces. Andrea took their infant daughter, Alicia, and moved back home with her parents. With no job, no wife, and no child, the once vibrant Billy lived alone in his dampened apartment in Tennessee. Life after boxing and a fatal end for Billy Collins Jr. After Billy lost the painting job, he remained in the buried apartment. Even the cupboard was bare. At one point, he had to borrow his brother-in-law's pair of shoes because he could no longer afford a pair of shoes. The shoes didn't fit, so he rolled some toilet paper and stuffed it inside. He was too proud to ask for money, his father said. On March 6, 1984, Billy and his father were at Ann's house. Billy was drinking. The father said it wasn't that much, but it was enough for him to deny Ray the car keys to drive home. His father insisted that Billy's acquaintance, Johnny Duke, drove the car. About 11:30 that night, Billy Collins Sr. pulled into his driveway, debating with his wife Betty whether to drive after his son. But then his car went past real slow, and I figured everything was all right. So I went inside, he said. He was wrong. A driver change was made right before Ray was in the driver's seat. He convinced his buddy to let him drive. Oh, there's a shot of the car. He convinced his buddy to let him drive. A few minutes later, the siren started. Billy Collins Sr. was not alone, but his other son, Lacey, felt an eerie sense of unease. Lacey followed the ambulance and police cars down to Collins Creek. A few minutes later, he delivered the bombshell. Ray's dead. Billy Sr. remained haunted by the tragedy, believing his son's death wasn't a simple accident. He believed Billy had deliberately swerved perhaps not to die, but out of a desperate need to punish himself for a life he felt he had failed. I think everything just piled up on him, his father reflected. He just forgot about the ditch. I don't know what that is. It was in there. Now, perhaps the cruelest irony of the tragedy is the fact that Billy Collins Sr. stood just feet away from the ring, forced into the role of a witness to a slow-motion murder of his son. Less than a year later, he was feet away again as that destruction reached its terminal point. Okay, silence, denial, and a later confession. Back to Resto in Panama Lewis now. For years, Louis Resto and his trainer Panama Lewis maintained a wall of silence. Resto spent decades, even after Billy Collins' death, denying he knew the gloves had been tampered with. It wasn't until 2007, over 20 years later, that he finally broke up and he owned up to it all. Yeah, how could you have some gloves without padding and plaster Paris in it and not know they in there? Come on, man. Another shot at Billy Collins Sr. Okay. Now, Resto knew that Lewis had removed the padding right before the fight. He had also soaked his hand wraps in plaster to harden the blows. To this day, Resto is a man haunted by the ghost of the boy he broke, living with the weight of a win that cost the man his life. Years later, after his return from jail, he discovered the fight was all part of a bet. A bet had gone on me, and I had to win the fight no matter what. That's Billy Collins later in life. As well as halting his fight days, Resto's actions at night have also suffocated any chances he had of going into the corner to lend this next generation his wealth of experience. It was an understandable decision by the New York State Athletic Commission. Yeah, in like 2011, he applied to get his ban overturned so he could train fighters, and they said, no, you got a lifetime ban. It can't be overturned. And rightfully so. For what he did, he shouldn't be any kind of way involved in boxing ever again. And he hasn't been. Lifetime ban. And then he tried for forgiveness from Billy Collins' family, and his wife told him, hell no, we're not forgiving you. You killed our husband and my daughter's father. No, ain't no forgiveness. Ain't no apologizing for that. The story of Billy Collins Jr. remains a grim pillar of boxing history, a reminder of what happens when greed corrupts a fight. It highlights the catastrophic regulatory failures of the era where a trainer could hide a loaded glove in plain sight. The legacy of the fight is what a profound loss. Had the glove stayed fair, Billy Ray Collins might have become a world champion. Instead, he became a martyr for fighter's salary. His story remains a stark reminder of how a single act of deceit could ripple out to destroy families, careers, and even lives. You can take one man's life. Yeah, Billy Collins, Louis Resto. You got another hand wrap controversy. Today's show is brought to you by Al Booger. Let's get into the next hand wrap controversy. You know who it is, Antonio Margarito. He doctors his gloves up. And once Shane Mosley's manager and the Sim Richardson caught him, they don't know how many of his fights the gloves were doctored on. You know, once you get caught one time, how many before that? Or even after? Were your gloves doctored? So yeah, they don't know about Antonio. But let's talk about Antonio's cheating. And when Shane Mosley found out he tried to cheat him with that stuff in his gloves and patent taken off, Shane Mosley beat the brakes off of him in that fight. Beat the brakes off of Margarito, end up stopping him. Shane was like, you tried to come in here and cheat me like that? Probably talking to him as he was beating him. You tried to beat me, punching him all the time. But yeah, Antonio Margarito is the next cheater. Hand wrap controversy. Okay, let's get into that. Is the music too loud? I don't know. I got a new laptop. I had the other one gauged perfectly, but I can't tell. If it's too loud, somebody let me know. Just say it's too loud. I'll turn it on down. Okay, hand wrap tampering incident. Antonio Margarito. Okay, 2009. Okay, on January 24th, 2009, hours before his WBO welterweight title defense against Shane Mosley at the Staples Center in Los Angeles, California, Antonio Margarito was involved in a major controversy when illegal substances were discovered in his hand wraps. During the pre-fight preparation in Margarito's dressing room, Mosley's trainer, Nassim Richardson, observed a suspicious pasty residue on the wraps and demanded a thorough inspection by California State Athletic Commission officials. Upon unwrapping, inspectors found 2 removable inserts containing a wet, plaster-like material embedded within the standard hand wraps, along with additional suspicious padding in a backup set of wraps provided by Margarito's camp. The substance was quickly identified by ringside physician Dr. Robert Oliveira as plaster Paris or gypsum, which when mixed with water hardens into a rigid brick-like material capable of significantly increasing punching power and causing severe damage to an opponent. Yeah, if his hands got wet in those gloves as the fight went on, the plaster Paris was getting harder and harder. Okay, laboratory tests later conducted by the California Department of Justice on the confiscated wraps confirmed the presence of calcium and sulfur, key components of plaster Paris, smeared within the material. Margarito vehemently denied any knowledge of the tampering, insisting he had no idea what his trainer, Javier Capetillo, had applied, and expressing disbelief at the discovery. Yeah, throw your trainer under the bus. In contrast, Richardson described the act as a deliberate attempt to load the gloves, while Mosley's attorney, Judd Burstein, accused Margarito's camp of intentional cheating to gain an unfair edge in the fight. The incident raised suspicions about Margarito's prior victories, particularly his 2008 win over Miguel Cotto, with calls to vacate the title, though it was not officially overturned. Yeah, Cotto had injuries similar to Collins from the Resto fight, not as severe, but yeah, eyes all messed up around the eyes and everything, similar injuries because of the hand wraps. But the Cotto fight was not overturned. Now, commission officials immediately confiscated the tainted wraps, sealed them in a box for further analysis, and ordered Margarito's hands to be rewrapped using regulation materials under close supervision. The fight proceeded as scheduled. Margarito ultimately lost by technical knockout in the 9th round after Mosley dominated the entire fight. Post-fight, Mosley remarked that even with the replacement wraps, Margarito's punches retained an unusually hard impact, raising further questions about the integrity of the preparation process. Like, even after they got exposed, they still managed to get something in the replacement hand wraps. Sugar Shane said his punches were still unusually hard, even after they replaced them. They had to wrap them with new wraps under strict supervision. Like they still cheated. This event marked the first significant hand wrap tampering scandal in modern pro boxing, evoking comparisons to the infamous 1983 incident where Louis Resto's gloves were found to contain plaster of Paris during his fight against Billy Collins Jr., the one we just talked about, resulting in career-ending injuries to Collins. Now, the immediate media reaction was swift and harsh. Branding Margarito with the derogatory nickname Margachito, in tarnishing his long-standing image as an honest, relentless warrior in the ring. Yeah, they started calling Margarito Margachito. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know y'all heard that. Yeah, he turned into Margachito. Okay, so following the discovery of illegal hand wraps prior to his January 2009 fight, the California State Athletic Commission revoked Antonio Margarito's boxing license for 1 year on February 10th, 2009, citing the presence of a plaster-like substance in its wraps that violated commission rules on hand wrapping materials. The Nevada State Athletic Commission followed suit with an indefinite suspension on January 29, 2009, aligning with California's temporary ban and stating that Margarito must first seek reinstatement there before applying in Nevada. Margarito's trainer, Javier Capetillo, received the same 1 year revocation for applying the adulterated wraps. Commission investigations confirmed the substance contained calcium and sulfur, key components of plaster Paris, through lab analysis. But no criminal charges were filed against Margarito, as the Los Angeles County District Attorney declined to pursue a case after reviewing the evidence. Margarito maintained he had no knowledge of the tampering, attributing it solely to his trainer, Capetillo, and accepted the 1 year ban without appeal, expressing remorse in public statements. He said he knew nothing about it, but he accepted that ban because he knew he was guilty. Margarito served his suspension and returned to the ring in May 2010 with a non-title win in Mexico. But United States reinstatement proved challenging. The Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation granted him a license in August 2010, enabling his high-profile catchweight fight against Manny Pacquiao on November 13, 2010, at 150 pounds. California and Nevada denied his applications that year, citing ongoing concerns, while New York State Athletic Commission approved his license in November 2011, only after medical clearance for an orbital bone fracture sustained against Pacquiao, allowing a super welterweight rematch with Miguel Cotto. And Cotto got his revenge and beat him, and Cotto said that was the biggest victory of his career when he beat Margarito in the rematch. These piecemeal approvals marked his full United States comeback by 2011. Unable to obtain licenses in key states like California and Nevada during reinstatement delays, he was compelled to campaign at super welterweight for subsequent fights. The scandal severely impacted Margarito's career, resulting in the loss of major endorsement deals and a sharp decline in pay-per-view revenue. His 2010 comeback fight drew under 100,000 buys, a fraction of its pre-scandal number, exceeding 300,000 buys. That's what you get. Long-term, the incident tarnished Margarito's legacy, with critics labeling him a dirty fighter and questioning the legitimacy of prior victories. Though supporters like promoter Bob Arum argued it was an isolated act by his trainer, the Margarito himself, not Margarito himself. You're right, Bob. The controversy prompted boxing commissions to enhance hand wrap inspection protocols, including mandatory pre-fight approval and restrictions on materials like hard gauze to prevent similar tampering. On a personal level, Margarito described profound emotional distress from the backlash, contrasting sharply with his unblemished reputation during his 2002 to 2008 welterweight title reign, before the hand wrap controversy, before he got caught. And he later inflected on the isolation and regret that followed. Okay, that was Margarito. Okay, let's look at another hand wrap or glove controversy. Remember this one? Yeah. Talking about hand wrap equipment controversy today. Brought to you by Al Booger. Today's show. Okay? By Al Booger. Hand wrap equipment controversy. So we have it. Okay, this is the next one. This was Glovegate. Remember that one? Glovegate. Let me turn this light on over here now. Glovegate. Glovegate. Okay. We'll get into Glovegate in like 10 seconds. All right. Okay, Glovegate. Where's everybody at? This counter be off. It's 0, but I'm in here on my phone. So it should say one person in here. Okay, but let's talk about Glovegate. Now. Okay. Now, Deontay Wilder repeatedly accused Tyson Fury of tampering with his gloves, most notably following his first pro loss in their February 2020 rematch. Wilder alleges that Fury used illegal tactics to gain an unfair advantage. Okay, loaded gloves. Wilder claims Fury placed a hard egg-weight-sized object inside his gloves to increase the impact of his punches. Okay? Improper hand position. Wilder also alleges Fury's team pulled his gloves down so his fist was not fully inside them, allowing him to strike with his bare knuckles through the thinner wrist area of the glove. Okay? He wasn't punching with a pad, and he had his hand pulled all the way down to the wrist area of the glove. Punching where there's not a lot of padding there. Okay? And also Wilder accused him of removing padding. Okay? Wilder said, you removed some padding, Fury. Wilder also suggested that padding was removed from Fury's glove to make the shots more damaging. Now, Wilder often points to video footage showing Fury's gloves appearing to bend or flop in unusual ways. It's evident. Wilder also cited deep scratches inside his ears as proof of gypsy nails or other foul play. Okay? Now, these claims have been dismissed by many in the boxing community. Tyson Fury himself has consistently denied the allegations, calling them the excuses of an not unwell or weak person. Okay, that's what Fury said. Wilder was unwell and weak. A regulatory body, the Nevada State Athletic Commission and the WBC, whose title was on the line in the fight, have rejected the theory, noting that inspectors are present in the dressing room to sign off on all wraps and gloves before the fight begins. Boxing experts, promoters like Eddie Hearn, and former champions like George Groves have stated that tampering with modern custom-made gloves is nearly impossible without causing injury to the puncher's own hand. Okay? Now, Wilder did contribute to his accusations of cheating looking like excuses when he also attributed his loss to other factors, including his heavy ring walk costume, spiked water, and a disloyal trainer who threw the towel in too soon. Yeah, when Wilder started making those other excuses, he kind of like messed his own case up. You know, first he talked about Fury's gloves, then he talked about his ring walk costume, then he said his water was spiked, then he started getting on Mark Green on his trainer. So, Wilder, you looking kind of bad out here now, man. Now, there's never been proof of whether Wilder was cheated or not cheated, but after his loss in the second fight with Fury, Wilder's talking points were all over the place. Okay? But then, that wasn't all. Wilder wasn't the only one. Remember? Former Fury sparring partner, Nicholas Asbury, also accused him of using tampered gloves. Okay? In late 2019, Asbury released a video alleging that Fury had reacting from his sparring glove to inflict more pain and damage during sparring sessions. Asbury demonstrated a thumb test on a pair of gloves, claiming the padding had been hollowed out so that Fury could essentially punch with his bare knuckles. Remember that his sparring partner also accused. It wasn't just Wilder. But these accusations surfaced around the time of Fury's preparations for his rematch with Deontay Wilder. And Asbury had been a long-time sparring partner for Fury since 2015. Now, some members of the boxing community suggested Asbury's claims were motivated by pay disputes, as he allegedly felt he had not been properly compensated for his work with Fury during the Wilder camp, right? He worked with Fury during the Wilder camp. He felt he wasn't compensated. That's what some people said he was complaining for. Fury shorted him on the money. Now, Asbury's claims became a cornerstone for the Wilder Glovegate conspiracy theory, later popularized by Deontay Wilder after the 2020 loss to Fury. Wilder used Asbury's accusation to support his own claim. Okay? Yeah. Okay? Those are three of the big hand-wrapped boxing glove conspiracy. Okay, now let's look at some other type of controversies now. Okay? I have foul left in the show. Those hand-wrapped controversies and glove was brought to you today by Al Booger. Okay, appreciate you, Al Booger. Let's look at some other types of controversies now. Okay. We're going to talk about some of boxing's biggest controversies and robberies now. Some of boxing's biggest controversies and robberies. Wow. Yeah, those hand-wrap things took longer than I thought they would. Wow. I'm not even going to get everything I had in for y'all. I had some of the most unprofessional fighters in boxing history. Maybe I should do that first. We'll save that. I don't know. Yeah, the inner one. We might get to it. These are boxing. These are some controversies we've covered before. We're going to do a little review. Some of them we haven't. Biggest controversies, robberies. Yeah, the hand wrapping. I thought I'd throw some more in there. Robberies, all that kind of. That was the controversy fight right there on the screen, really going Holyfield when Fan Man showed up, remember? Yeah, Fan Man over there, some kind of contraption, came out of the air and hit the ring. Yes, he did. He had good aim on that thing. However he was guiding. Yeah. Okay. Now, some of boxing's biggest controversies, robberies, and scandals. Okay, excuse me one more time. This is the last time. And we're going to get this 30 minutes in. Man. Disaster area over here, man. Shit. Damn. Okay, there we go. Just went through Miss Cass' side and almost had a serious injury over there. Trying to get around that mess. Okay. Now, boxing has always lived in the gray areas. The sport is scored by humans, governed by fractured sanctioning bodies, and shaped by promoters whose financial interests don't always align with competitive fairness. The result is a history littered with disputed outcomes, outright scandals, and moments that made fans question whether the fix was in. Some of these controversies changed rules, others changed careers. A few nearly changed the sport itself. Okay? The Phantom Punch fight. Ali Liston too, 1965. When Muhammad Ali dropped Sonny Liston with a short right hand in the first round of their May 1965 rematch in Lewiston, Maine, the arena erupted in confusion, not celebration. The punch was so fast that many spectators and even some ringside journalists didn't see it land. Liston went down, stayed down, and was eventually counted out by referee Jersey Joe Walcott in one of the most chaotic endings in boxing history. Rumors of a mob-ordered dive followed Liston for the rest of his life. As ESPN revisited decades later, slow-motion footage confirms that Ali did land a legitimate right hand, but the image of Liston flat on his back from a punch nobody saw remains one of boxing's most debated moments and one of its most historic pictures right there. Yeah. I had that picture on my wall way back in the 70s. That's one of boxing's most historic pictures. Ali standing over Liston and telling him, "Get up, man, get up. Ain't nobody gonna believe this." The long count fight, Dempsey versus Tunney 2, 1927. In the seventh round of their rematch at Soldier Field in Chicago, Jack Dempsey landed a combination that dropped Gene Tunney to the canvas. Under normal circumstances, the crowd might have resulted. Under normal circumstances, the count might have resulted in a knockout, but Dempsey failed to retreat to a neutral corner as the rules required, and referee Dave Barry refused to begin counting until he did go to the neutral corner. By the time Tunney was counted out, he had been on the canvas for an estimated 14 to 16 seconds, long enough to recover, rise, and outbox Dempsey for the remaining 5 rounds to retain his title by unanimous decision. The long count became one of the most argued about moments in American sports history. Dempsey, characteristically, never complained, reportedly telling his wife later that he had forgot about the rule. That's it. I forgot that just started that rule. The bite fight, Tyson versus Holyfield 2, 1997. Mike Tyson's decision to bite Evander Holyfield's ear in the 3rd round of their June 1997 rematch transcended boxing controversy and became a global cultural event. Tyson, frustrated by Holyfield's headbutts, which he believed were deliberate, and going unpenalized, bit a chunk of cartilage from Holyfield's right ear and spat it onto the canvas. Referee Mills Lane deducted 2 points and allowed the fight to continue, at which point Tyson bit the other ear. Lane then disqualified Tyson, and a near riot ensued at the arena. The Nevada State Athletic Commission fined Tyson $3 million and revoked his boxing license for over a year. As BBC Sports noted at the time, the incident became a symbol of boxing at its most bizarre and damaged the sport's mainstream credibility for years. Whitaker versus Chavez, the draw that wasn't, 1993. Okay, Mike Wim says, in all the Holyfield fights, he uses that cranium mic. He did. And Mike Tyson said, that's enough. He did that in the first fight. He doing it in the second fight, and the referee wasn't saying nothing. So Mike said, next time you do it, bring your head in first. I'm going to get you. So Holyfield led with his head, and Mike went for the ear. Now, Whitaker versus Chavez. When Pernell Whitaker and Julio Cesar Chavez met in San Antonio on September 10th, 1993, it was the best fighting the best. The consensus top pound-for-pound fighter Chavez at 87-0 against the man most believed was actually better. Whitaker, the 40-division champion. Whitaker boxed circles around Chavez for 12 rounds, winning clearly on the unofficial cards of virtually every ringside media member. The official result was a majority draw. The scoring was so indefensible that it sparked a congressional inquiry in the boxing's judging system. Whitaker, who had already been the victim of questionable scores before in his career, was denied the signature victory his performance deserved. It remains one of the most widely cited robberies in the sport's history. Lewis versus Holyfield won. 1999, the draw that cost Lennox the crown. The March 1999 fight between Lennox Lewis and Evander Holyfield was supposed to crown boxing's first undisputed heavyweight champion in 7 years. Lewis controlled most of the fight behind his jab and right hand, and the vast majority of ringside observers believed he won clearly. The result, a split draw, was met with immediate outrage. Judge Eugenia Williams scored the fight 115-113 for Holyfield, a card so widely criticized that it prompted an investigation. The rematch 8 months later produced the expected result, with Lewis winning a unanimous decision. But the original draw cost Lewis millions of dollars and delayed a unification that should have happened months earlier. The incident led to calls for judicial reform that decades later, today, have largely gone unanswered. Gone unanswered. Roy Jones Jr. and the 1988 Olympic robbery. In the junior middleweight final at the Seoul Olympics, 1988, 19-year-old Roy Jones Jr. landed 86 punches to his opponent, Park Si-hun's 32, scored 2 standing 8 counts, but still lost by 3-2. The verdict was so egregiously wrong that one of the judges later admitted he voted for the home country fighter to avoid what he considered a whitewash. The International Olympic Committee investigated. 2 judges were ultimately banned for life. And Park Si-hun himself reportedly apologized to Jones. The scandal led directly to the adoption of computerized scoring in Olympic boxing and remains the most infamous judging decision in amateur boxing history. Jones went on to become one of the greatest fighters of his generation. His opponent in the Olympics, Park, never fought again. After the Olympics, never fought again. The IBF scandal. Bob Lee and the ranking bride. Now this is crazy. Listen to this. This still goes on today, I think. In 1999, IBF President Robert W. Lee Sr. was indicted on federal charges of accepting bribes from managers and promoters in exchange for favorable rankings. The investigation revealed a system in which fighters could essentially buy their way into mandatory challenger positions, undermining the competitive intense integrity the rankings were supposed to guarantee. Over 23 boxers and 7 promoters were implicated. One of them was the Godfather. Lee was convicted on racketeering and money laundering charges and sentenced to 22 months in federal prison. The scandal confirmed what many in boxing had long suspected. The sanctioning body rankings were, in some cases, for sale. Okay, as the New York Times reported, the case laid bare the structural corruption within boxing's governing bodies, and it haven't changed. Okay, it haven't changed. The United States Boxing Championships, Don King's Tournament of Fraud. In 1977, ABC Sports and promoter Don King launched the United States Boxing Championships, a nationally televised tournament designed to identify the country's best fighters across multiple weight classes. The tournament was quickly exposed as a fraud. Investigative journalism revealed that at least 11 participating fighters had falsified their records. Several fights were rigged to benefit Don King's contracted fighters, and Ring Magazine rankings, which were used to seed the tournament, had been manipulated. ABC canceled the tournament, and the fallout damaged Ring Magazine's credibility so severely that the WBC and WBA gained increased authority over the sport. King, as he always did, escaped the legal consequences, while associates bore the brunt of prosecution. Yeah, Don always got away. Pacquiao versus Bradley won. The Gift in Vegas, 2012. Yeah, that was crazy. I could have sworn when the ring announcer said the winner was Tim Bradley, he mouthed the words, "What? Me?" He was like, "Who, me?" Tim just knew he lost. And you know, when the interviewer asked him, a lot of people thought you lost. What you think about it, Tim? He gave the old, "I gotta watch the tape" answer. Why don't you just say, "Yes, you thought you won"? He gave the old, "I gotta watch the tape" answer. That's the same as saying, "Yeah, I really lost. I gotta watch the tape." That's saying the same thing as, "Yeah, I really lost. I didn't deserve it." Timothy Bradley entered this June 2012 fight with Manny Pacquiao as a significant underdog and did nothing in the ring to change that assessment. Pacquiao outlanded Bradley in total punches, power punches, and jab connects, winning the fight clearly on virtually every unofficial scorecard. The split decision victory for Bradley, 115-113 on 2 cards, was met with stunned silence and then outrage. Even HBO's broadcast team openly questioned the result. The WBO ordered a review panel that concluded Pacquiao should have won, though the result stood. Bradley himself later acknowledged in interviews after the fight that he believed Pacquiao won the fight. But he didn't sit in the ring that night. He said, I gotta watch the tape. But maybe he went home and watched the tape. So, because later he did say he lost. The two rematched in 2014 and 2016, and you know who won. Pacquiao won both decisively. Canelo Triple G won. The Adelaide Bird fight, 2017. The first fight between Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin in September of 2017 was scored a split draw. And the controversy centered on one specific scorecard. Judge Adelaide Bird turned in a 118-110 card in favor of Canelo, a score so disconnected from the actual fight that it prompted an investigation by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. The other two judges scored the fight 115-113 for Triple G and 114-114 a draw, both of which fell within the range of reasonable agreement, right? Bird's card did not. She was removed from Canelo Triple G assignments going forward, but the draw stood, denying Triple G a victory that most observers believe he earned. The rematch in 2018 produced a majority decision for Canelo, but the shadow of the first fight scoring has followed the rivalry forever. Hagler Leonard. Thomas Hill. What's up, Thomas Hill? We just talked about some controversies today. We had some hand-wrapping stories earlier. Today's show brought to you by Al Booker. We had three hand-wrap controversies. We just talking about some other controversies now. Sugar Ray and Hagler. The decision that retired a champion, 1987. Sugar Ray Leonard came out of a 3-year retirement to challenge Marvin Hagler for the middleweight championship in April 1987. And the split decision result has been argued about ever since. Hagler stalked, pressured, and landed the harder punches. Leonard boxed, moved, and threw flurries at the end of rounds, a strategy designed to impress judges with activity. 2 judges scored it for Leonard, 115-113 and 118-110. One had it for Hagler, 115-113. The 118-110 card was widely criticized, and Hagler was so disgusted that he retired and never fought again. The debate persists because the fight was genuinely close. Both men had legitimate claims to victory, depending on which criteria of view are prioritized. But the 118-110 scorecard gave the controversy an anchor that has never been resolved. Okay, Shane Mosley's EPO confession. In 2008, during the Balco federal investigation, Shane Mosley testified under oath that he had used EPO and other performance-enhancing drugs in preparation for his rematch with Oscar De La Hoya in 2003. Mosley won that fight by unanimous decision. The confession shattered Mosley's carefully cultivated good guy image and raised retroactive questions about his other performances. So no other fights were officially tainted. Officially. But who knows? The incident highlighted the limitations of boxing's drug testing regime and the ease with which fighters could evade detection. Mosley later claimed he didn't know what the substances were, a defense that was met with widespread skepticism. You know what it was, EPO. And the EPO stands for this. I can't pronounce it. ROPOITIN. It is POIETIN. That's what Shane Mosley took right there. I ain't taking nothing I can't pronounce. Right? Damn. Okay. And then, they had the Panama Lewis thing. We covered that. Right? Okay. A sport that polices itself poorly. The common thread running through all these controversies is structural. Boxing has no single governing body, no unified set of rules, and no independent oversight mechanism capable of enforcing standards across the sport. Judges answer to state commissions with varying levels of competence and funding. Rankings are compiled by organizations that charge sanctioning fees to the fighters they rank. Let me read that again. Okay? Because this is crazy. Rankings are compiled by organizations that charge sanctioning fees to the fighters they rank. Now make that make sense. Promoters negotiate which officials work their cards. Until those structures change, and there's no indication they will, boxing's biggest controversies are not relics of the past. They are previews of the future, okay? They're not relics of the past. They're previews of the future. And they will continue as long as there's boxing. Because there's no sign that they're trying to make any kind of changes to have structure. But isn't that crazy? The rankings are compiled by organizations that charge sanctioning fees to the fighters they rank. Okay? So, man. Like Canelo, that's why he stay at the top of the rankings all the time. Look at the sanctioning fees they get from it, right? So you want him to have the belts and stuff, because of the bags he makes. You're going to get 3% of his bag is way more than you're going to get from certain other fighters. So yeah, look at the WBA. They just gave Tank their title. Here, take it. Remember when it became vacant? They was like, here, Tank, take it. Please take it. And we can get 3% of your bags when you fight. Tank didn't want it, But, it's not going to change. Boxing has always been and always will be. Follow the money. Follow the moolah. That's what it is. Hope everybody enjoyed today's show. Brought to you by Al Booker. Yep, Wednesday. Anybody come up with any ideas, any kind of show you want to see, just let me know. I'll do my best to try to make it happen. Okay? Yeah, Friday, we didn't get our active boxing on the first Friday last week, so we're going to do it this week. It's going to be Anthony Joshua, Life and Career of Anthony Joshua Friday. Yep. Tomorrow, I don't know. We'll be back tomorrow with something. But appreciate everybody that came through today. Thomas Hill, BBO Sports TV, Mike Mazik, Al Booger, Mike Rim, Miss Cass. Appreciate y'all 1,000,000% touch points. Join me tomorrow. You know the deal. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Everybody have a great afternoon. Now I'm going to make like a tree and leave. Y'all remember that? I'm going to make like a tree and leave. But I messed the whole chat up. Okay, there we go. Everybody have a great afternoon. I'm out.